This is the News 4 Rundown.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the News 4 Rundown. I am Joseph Olmo. It is a very busy Thursday, August 21st. Here's what we were talking about tonight. You might be thinking about vaccines, maybe, as measles cases continue to be a problem in the U.S. this year, and the kids are getting back to school. So what did Tracy Wilkins and the News 4 I-team find when they investigated vaccination rates in our region? Plus, Hurricane Erin packing wind speeds of up to 100 miles per hour, continuing its trek up the East Coast. Here's the deal, guys. Even though it isn't making landfall, the storm is still having an impact on our local beaches. Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Doug Kammer is in Bethany Beach tonight. He's going to have a look at the conditions over there. And after another long week, what are you up to this weekend? There's lots to choose from. Tommy McFly has got all the fun stuff you can do. And he says for some of those events, you might even want to bring a friend. But we are going to begin tonight with this. By now, most of you have probably seen that dramatic arrest near the Washington Monument yesterday. We are showing you the moments right before David Perez Teopani was put into handcuffs by ICE agents. Shortly after his arrest, ICE was pretty quick to point out that Perez Teopani was an accused child sex offender. We also learned that those charges were actually dropped last year. Northern Virginia Bureau Chief Julie Carey starts us off tonight with new details about the arrest that was seen by millions.
David Perez Teopani taken to the ground after appearing to try to escape after first being questioned by a D.C. police officer, then detained by ICE agents. His screams that he'd done nothing wrong, difficult to witness for many who saw the video. Last night, members of an immigrants' rights group gathered to comfort his wife outside her Fairfax County home. She told our Telemundo 44 partner her husband left for work at 8 a.m. and now may never come back. She's asked we protect her identity, adding this about the ICE arrest.
Lo han maltratado mucho, ahí se ve en el video.
They've mistreated him a lot. He's always looked out for the family, and his priority is his family. It's very sad for the children and for me because he simply went to work. An ICE spokesman says Perez Teopani crossed the border illegally 3 times and had a final order of removal. But the agency also said he faced a serious child sex assault charge and added prosecutors refused to prosecute. Commonwealth's Attorney Steve Descano accusing ICE of misrepresenting the case.
These are the most difficult types of cases to prosecute. And as often happened in this case, the victim decided not to go forward. We lost contact with her in terms of not answering police calls, and she didn't show up to court. In America, you have to have evidence to convict somebody. That witness was our only evidence, so we null pros the case in the hopes that she would eventually become ready to testify and we can bring that case back.
Null pros is a legal term, meaning the case cannot go forward. Court records show Perez Teopani was charged in January of 2024 with indecent liberties of a child under the age of 13 and aggravated sexual battery. Notes from a bond hearing indicate the alleged victim was a relative who made the accusation that Perez Teopani touched her breast. But Perez Teopani told a detective the accusation came when he was disciplining the child. Law enforcement sources confirm neither the child nor her mother wanted to go forward with the case. Descano says the way ICE is handling arrests is hurting the ability of his office to prosecute cases because of the fear created in the immigrant community.
All around this country, that the indiscriminate way that ICE is going about their business now is actually hurting public safety. We have anecdotally seen more cases where witnesses haven't showed up. And of course, we've had cases where we're trying to get accountability on somebody and the defendant isn't there because they've already been picked up by ICE.
We are still trying to learn why Perez Teopani was stopped by police in the first place. He was driving a vehicle marked as an Uber. He is now in ICE detention, and his family says they're trying to find a lawyer to help with this immigration case. In Fairfax County, I'm Julie Carey, News 4.
All right, Julie, thank you. So as Julie noted there, why Perez Teopani was stopped by police in the first place is a big question people have been asking. Did ICE know about him being an accused child sex offender? We don't know. Another question is whether or not the arrests we have seen in recent days are violating civil rights. I want to bring Justin Hansford in on the conversation now. He's a civil rights attorney and a law professor at Howard University. Justin, good evening to you. Thank you for your time, sir. All you have to do is look at the comments section on any social media post showing an arrest happening in D.C. in the past week and a half. People are worried tonight that D.C. residents are being targeted simply because the color of the color of their skin, rather. Are there any legal grounds that people can stand on when they believe they are being racially profiled by law enforcement?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And the number one rule I always tell our communities is you have the right to remain silent until you have a lawyer present. You have the right to ask, am I free to go if stopped? And if the officer says no, you should ask, am I under arrest? And number three, if they ask to search you or your belongings, you should say, I don't consent to the search. Even if you are someone who is being targeted, and I can say I do believe that people who are being targeted right now for being Black, for being brown, for being part of our vibrant multi-ethnic community. And if you believe that, you're going to have to fight that in court. You're not going to be able to fight that battle on the scene. And the best way to do that is to make sure that you use your rights to remain silent, and then you gather evidence and be prepared to have your say when the time arrives.
Justin, is there anything that Mr. Perez Teopani could have done yesterday differently that would have changed the outcome? What we saw there, what millions of people saw in that video?
I think that right now what we're seeing is our city under siege. Law enforcement is being very aggressive right now. And when you're faced with that situation in the moment, I believe that the best thing to do is to stand to fight another day. And what he did in the situation is probably most that you could expect someone to do when they are being handcuffed. But I do believe that just like we saw activists and protesters arrested, Feeney was arrested from the coalition Free DC. We're seeing a lot of Washingtonians having to face the situation. Over 500 arrests have taken place, I believe, since this occupation. Yeah. And so it's going to be something that we're going to see over and over again. And I do think that people should be prepared to use their right to remain silent and live to fight another day.
So one of the fears that we have heard is that all of the arrests we've been seeing could cause people to have less trust in the police in their own communities. People may be victims of crimes or need help, but be afraid to call law enforcement because they're worried about their own legal status. What's your advice in that case?
Well, we've seen that lack of trust as a long-time pattern. Of course, we know what happened in 2020 after the killing of George Floyd. And for decades and even generations before that in African-American communities, we've seen that lack of trust being, in many cases, justified, right? So what I recommend people do in this situation is to continue to watch over their communities. I see people using their cameras to take footage of what's happening. I do believe that is another positive thing to do, because then if there is a violation of your rights, then you have some evidence.
Justin, let me ask you, because we have some video up here on the screen. I don't know if you can see it, but again, this is there have been several examples of this of delivery drivers being detained. To your knowledge, do these delivery drivers, like the gentleman here in this screen, do they have any specific protections if they are stopped on the job? And could the companies that they work for, like Uber Eats, for example, could they get involved in any way?
Their companies could be more involved in protecting them and giving them more information about the dangers and helping them to protect themselves. When you are stopped while driving, police can ask to see your driver's license. Federal ICE law enforcement officers can ask to see your immigration papers. But if you're on foot, you don't have to show identification. So some of these basic rights are things that Uber should be making their employees aware of so that they can be safe in this moment. But I do think this is part of our culture. DoorDash delivery is part of our culture, and we want to make sure that we keep everybody in our community safe.
Before I let you go, you got to put yourself in the shoes of these family members, who may be unsure of where their loved ones have been taken after they're detained, after they're arrested. What support, what resources are out there for these families?
Well, in Washington, D.C., we have one of the best public defender services in the entire nation. That's something that we can be very proud of. I know many of these families may not be coming from wealth and may not have the financial resources to afford high-priced lawyers. But we do have communities that are coming together, and not only as in light of the public defender services, but also organizers and churches and coalitions of concerned citizens. You also can make a difference by being willing to speak out about what's happening in your community and helping those families and reaching out to those families and being a source of relief in this time for them.
All right. Civil rights attorney and Howard University law professor Justin Hansford, thank you so much for joining us tonight and offering your insight. And I'm sure this is not the last of everything that we're seeing out in D.C. these days. Thank you so much, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Of course, yeah. So President Trump took a drive out of the White House this evening and headed to the U.S. Park Police headquarters. There, he thanked some 300 officers and National Guard troops who have been on patrol in D.C. Take a listen.
But the crime numbers are way down. I'm looking at, you saw some of the stats. They just read them out to me inside. The numbers that we haven't seen here ever, actually ever. And I think it's probably right now, to me, I feel very safe now, and I'm hearing people are very safe, but I know within 2 weeks it's going to be, Pam, it's going to be at a level that's even far superior.
Yeah, the president there claiming his federalization of the D.C. Police Department has been a success, despite growing criticism from people who live in D.C. and numbers that show arrests are not dramatically different than they were immediately before the takeover. Well, there's much more to come tonight on the News 4 Rundown, including this weekend's forecast. Storm Team 4 meteorologist Ryan Miller is in tonight with some good news. There's good news?
We've got
Look at what's behind you. How is there good news?
Well, because it's moving off the coast and away from us, Joseph. We have beautiful weather expected for the day tomorrow that will continue into your weekend. Hurricane Aaron, Category 2, moving off towards the northeast. Our colleague, Doug Kammerer, out at the beaches, keeping an eye on things out there with an update at what we're seeing currently out along the Mid-Atlantic.
And we're tracking the latest of Hurricane Aaron as it continues to move out to sea. But look what it's doing right here to the beaches. We're going to talk more about what's happening here in Bethany Beach as well as other locations along our coastline.
Coming up, childhood vaccination rates are falling as concern rises. We're working for you with a warning from doctors, why this is happening, and what it means for your students. Next on News 4.
Preventing measles, polio, and whooping cough. Doctors say it's as simple as getting a shot, but fewer children are getting vaccinated, leaving some communities vulnerable to outbreaks of preventable diseases. Investigative reporter Tracy Wilkins is taking a deeper dive into the local numbers, and she shares a warning from health officials as the new school year begins.
As students head back to school, doctors are sounding the alarm about an old disease making a comeback. Dr. Gabrina Dixon is with Children's National Hospital in D.C.
As a pediatrician, I'm highly concerned. We should not have kids die from measles in 2025, and so it's heartbreaking.
Measles cases hit a 33-year high in the U.S. this year. 3 people have died and more than 1,300 others have gotten sick. 25 years ago, measles was declared eliminated in the U.S. by the CDC.
And we can prevent this, and the way to prevent it is with vaccination.
Dr. William Moss and his team at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health have been tracking the measles outbreak from the start in real time. He says the crisis we're seeing today is years in the making and worries it will only get worse if vaccination rates keep dropping and more jurisdictions loosen the rules on vaccine exemptions for students.
Those school entry vaccination requirements have been so critical to controlling vaccine-preventable diseases in this country and protecting our children. So that's where I'm concerned, is that we're going to see more permissible non-medical exemptions that will further undermine our ability to maintain sufficiently high vaccine coverage among our children.
And that's the bigger issue, because it's not just measles. According to the CDC, national kindergarten vaccination rates for required vaccines like MMR and DTaP have fallen from pre-pandemic levels of 95% to around 93%, while the number of families opting out of vaccines for medical or religious reasons has increased. We checked vaccine rates for kindergartners in our region last year and found Montgomery and Prince George's counties were at 95% and higher, with more than 1% of students with religious exemptions. Loudoun County, Virginia was at 94%, followed by the District of Columbia, Arlington, Fairfax, and Alexandria City. What happened in this country that suddenly there is this vaccine skepticism that we didn't see before?
The COVID pandemic did play a role in undermining public trust among some people and communities, and social media and the polarization within social media. And then what we've seen now with the new administration is that some of the more stronger, outspoken voices, the anti-vaccine voices, are now leading the institutions that are supposed to be protecting us against vaccine-preventable diseases.
One of the most outspoken critics of vaccines has been Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who now serves as the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services. In the past, he has promoted debunked claims linking vaccines to disorders like autism, a claim doctors have repeatedly denied. We reached out to HHS for a statement, and they tell us, quote, Secretary Kennedy is not anti-vaccine. He is pro-safety, pro-transparency, and pro-accountability. The agency says the decision to vaccinate is a personal one. Parents should consult their healthcare providers on options for their families, adding that vaccination remains the most effective way to protect children from serious diseases like measles and whooping cough, which can lead to hospitalization and long-term health complications. How long can a community like Maryland sustain if there are multiple cases, and how long does our vaccination saturation last?
Yeah, this is something you have to continually work on, because there are continued, children being born and growing up. They are susceptible to measles until they get vaccinated.
And that's why doctors are dispelling the misinformation with science and the mountain of evidence that's been proven to support these life-saving shots.
There's no long-term side effects from the vaccine. It has been proven again and again to be a very effective vaccine. The counter to that, if you don't get the vaccine and you do get measles, it can lead to death, and we have seen that.
2 shots of the MMR vaccine offers a lifetime of protection from measles. There have been 6 measles cases in our area this year. All are what experts call imported or travel-related cases brought into the DMV. And doctors say we haven't seen it spread to others because of the high vaccination rates in our area. I'm Tracy Wilkins. Back to you.
I'm sure a lot of families right now are in back-to-school mode across the DMV. You can find more of our Ready for School coverage on our NBC Washington app and NBCWashington.com. We got details about changes in your child's school district, tips to help with the transition back into the classroom, and so much more. All right, we've got to talk about Hurricane Erin. Even though the Category 2 hurricane didn't make landfall, thankfully, the storm is still causing some major problems. This video coming out of Delaware shows serious flooding as a storm surge pushed on shore. Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Doug Kammerer is keeping an eye on conditions at Bethany Beach today. Doug, how's it looking out there?
Yeah, Joseph, we're watching right now as the ocean continues to churn out here. I mean, look at these waves and take a look at what is going on now to the dune system, and of course these fences that they had up here. About 2 hours ago, these fences were fully intact, but now they are just getting pummeled by these waves. The dunes themselves are taking a beating, and of course the beach, you don't even see any beach. Normally there's about 50 yards of beach here, but you don't see the beach at all, and they are worried about beach erosion, significant beach erosion, as Hurricane Aaron continues to churn off the coast. So we're going to be watching this storm. We've got about another hour before high tide comes in, and really kind of concerned about this. We're seeing some problems down in Ocean City, too, with the water coming up so high. So once again, Aaron is making its way out, but we've still got, oh, wow, heads up, heads up. We've still got a long way to go. I'm going to send it back into Ryan. Ryan Miller, tell us where the storm is heading and when it's getting on out of here.
Well, Doug, lucky for us, it's moving away from the coast and off towards the northeast, and it's doing that rapidly. It will gain speed, but this storm system is still propagating some big-time wave action offshore. Just checked a couple of the buoys that are out floating off the Atlantic seaboard. 16 to 20-foot swells are coming from this system. They're going to continue to interact with the beaches along the Delmarva, in New Jersey, Long Island, and even into the Carolinas. That's going to continue to give us considerable amounts of beach erosion and very dangerous surf, and that's going to continue into the evening. I'll tell you what, one thing that is beautiful and pleasant and the opposite of that tumult is our sunset right now. We've got beautiful conditions across the area. Sun is setting at 7:54 as it makes its way to the western horizon. We can expect the cloud cover that we've seen all day begin to dissipate. Some of the shower activity that has been lingering west of us into the mountains of West Virginia, that's going to continue to push to the south. And folks, we have a really nice forecast that's going to set up for the day tomorrow and for the balance of your weekend. Through the 60s, and tomorrow morning waking up to temperatures that will be into the 60s. A cool start to your Friday. Sunshine will warm us well into the 80s, and we've got really nice weather heading in for Saturday. Sunday will bring us our next chance of some cloud cover and a couple of raindrops west of D.C. But next week could be some of the best weather we've had all summer. Lower 80s. Temperatures that will be accompanied by low humidity. Good stuff.
Dude, I've been loving the 60s overnight.
It's been great.
Perfect window open weather. It's absolutely gorgeous. Almost all sun there as well next week.
Yeah, we have good weather for next week.
Couldn't ask for more.
And I go back to school, of course.
That's why we have the back to school stories, just for you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, hey, here's what else we're talking about right after this.
Still ahead in the weekend scene, we're serving up plenty of fun, including a volley between D.C. and Baltimore, food from around the world, and your chance to kick it like it's, I don't know, the 1500s, whenever the Renaissance was. It's all on the way on News 4.
And is calling my name, and I'm sure it's calling yours as well. If you're looking for something fun to do this weekend around the DMV, look no further. There's food, there's football, and some Renaissance fun. Our Tommy McFly has more on what you need to know.
This weekend, it's a journey to yesteryear, a time when cell phones couldn't bother you and turkey legs and costumes abound. The Maryland Renaissance Festival is kicking off this weekend. And if giant turkey legs aren't really your thing, DC Restaurant Week is in full swing with Alexandria Restaurant Week just beginning. While we're at it, try foods from around the world in one place. It's the Around the World Cultural Food Festival, returning to Orinoco Bay Park in Old Town. Plenty of shopping, too, from local artisans Saturday starting at 11. Now, the biggest game of the weekend, besides whatever this is, Commanders preseason. It's Saturday at Northwest Stadium. Going to have a lot of members of the other team's fan base there, too, as the Ravens are making their way down the BW Parkway for a friendly Baltimore, D.C. showdown. You could have gotten all of this, by the way, in our Weekend Scene newsletter, delivers to your inbox every Wednesday. I'm Tommy McFly. Have an awesome weekend. I got next.
Every time I've tried to play ping pong upstairs, I just do such a terrible, terrible job, losing to all of my colleagues. That'll do it for News 4 Rundown. I am Joseph Olmo. Stay tuned. We got News 4 at 11 coming up in just a few hours. Have a great night, everybody.